Welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin, and a monumental event, and an event that certainly supports democracy, because remember, Trump is basically, if he ever got elected, to be a threat to democracy. But liberal judges, Democratic appointed judges in Colorado, have taken him off the ballot in 2024. Your thoughts?
Yeah, just to give a little more detail, the Colorado Supreme Court found that Donald Trump was ineligible to run for office because
Because he's an insurrectionist.
because according to the 14th Amendment, which was passed just after the Civil War, insurrectionists are unable to run for office. Well, this is not just troubling, but it also goes back. This is a long time coming. Um, and I have to give credit where credit is due. Most of the research that I am talking about was brought to my attention by our fellow podcast host, Bill Carell, of our sister podcast, Lighting the Candle. He called me with all sorts of research on this one that boggled my mind. So let's dig into this a little deeper.
Break it down for us, yes. Oh, can I interject one thing? The insurrectionist part was after the Civil War, and it meant people that were basically participating and on the South Side,
yes,
as revolutionaries. Hello, it was done right at, so they couldn't participate in elections. Hello, genius.
Exactly. Now, of course, even this was a 4-3 decision. All 7 of them are Democrats, so they couldn't even get 7 Democrats to agree on this. In the dissenting opinion, which I happen to read through parts of, the judges stated that there is no basis in law for this decision. Now,
there's none.
Why would he say this? Because Donald Trump has never been legally accused or convicted of being an insurrectionist. This is an assumption made by the Colorado courts. So
basically, if you run this down up the flagpole, I could call you an insurrectionist. I mean, if you've never been convicted,
right.
Correct?
Exactly.
So there's no barriers to this. If you've never been proven in a court or law, then who's to say who's an insurrectionist and who's not?
Right. There is no barrier to being called an insurrectionist and somebody using this. Now, 4 other states had this exact same case, and it was thrown out of all 4 of them. Colorado is the only one that found against Trump, which means.
But isn't there like 13 other states pending, though? Or at least tossing this around?
There are 13 other states pending. But
yes.
This is going to have to go to the Supreme Court. And since he has not been convicted or even legally accused of being an insurrectionist, the Supreme Court is pretty much guaranteed to overturn this. So
yes, and let me just say, so there's some legal analysis from very middle of the road judicial scholars. Basically, it's going to be all 9 judges.
Yes,
because it's such a ridiculous.
They're actually expecting this to be overturned by either 9-0 or 8-1. That is actually what people are expecting. This decision was so bad. So if this had no legal basis, why did it even go through? And I'll toss this question to you. In 2020, how many electoral votes from Colorado did Trump win?
None.
In 2016, how many?
None. I already researched it.
Yes.
None.
Exactly. So
yeah, I looked at it. Yes.
Even if he is on the ballot, the idea that he's going to win Colorado is a long shot at best, and it's a winner-take-all state. So This has absolutely no effect on the election.
Unless other states follow. May I interject something on this?
Go ahead.
Here's what I think. Okay. I think it was a bridge too far, obviously, but I also the liberals shot themselves in the foot because the Supreme Court will overturn this. So the other 13 states, that all goes away. Who does it bolster? It bolsters Trump, supports his theory about being a victim, about being persecuted, which is true, and just one more layer of bullshit, and it actually helps delegitimize the other cases. How do you like that one?
You're absolutely right. It does all of that.
All
But
the above.
this case has nothing to do with the electorate. This case had nothing to do with him being on or off the ballot. This case was completely about providing fodder to anti-Trump media so that they can say from now until the election that Trump was found ineligible to be on the ballot, and yet people are supporting him, people are voting for him. It was a message so that the media can bang the drum against deplorables. And this was a long time coming because it
Okay, but
actually goes
I like
back.
your analysis is excellent, but let's get right down to the brass tacks. What effect does it have? I say if the media has about what a 15% approval rating, I don't think, and they've been talking bullshit for like what now 8 years or whatever about Russia collusion, the laptop's not real, credibility zero, impact less than zero. That's my
It's
thoughts. Yours.
the the impact on the election is going to be zero. The impact
Yes.
for Trump is going to be positive, but that's not who they're reaching for. This had nothing to do with affecting the election. This is about making the anti-Trump forces feel better about themselves because as
So
we
they don't have to go
know,
to the safe room?
yes, so that they can be told, look, you were right. You were right to oppose Trump because look, he's so terrible. He's an insurrectionist in Colorado, found he can't even be on the ballot. And they're going to say, this is further proof that the Supreme Court is politicized and we need to pack the court. It has nothing to do with the election. It's all about pushing their agenda to pack the court and make themselves feel better that yes, Trump is the boogeyman. And look, this is how we have to fight.
I think it's excellent analysis without any question. An analysis, I will have to say, Dr. Lopkin, that you don't get from a lot of other places except for Carnivore Radio. My hat is off to you on that one. Well done.
And again, I
Also, well,
have
go
to
ahead.
again I have to give credit where credit is due because again, our fellow podcaster Bill Carell brought this stuff to me to look into, and I wouldn't have caught some of this if it hadn't been for him giving me a call. So thank you to
Good. Shout
Bill.
out to him.
And again, Lighting the Candle is our sister podcast on the X Video Network. It's not a political podcast, but Bill is a really bright guy, and he was able to get us this info.
Well, my hat is off to him. Well done. Um, Speaking of not well done, and we have Biden's approval rating, legitimate polls, by the way. The highest he's at now is 36, and there's a very another poll that has him at 34, and then a Rasmussen poll has a crazy Trump up by 10. The other part of that, though, is RFK is in a let's just say in a three-way race. Sorry about that. He's at 24%. So a lot to digest. But what do you think? I mean, 10 points. Forget about if it's accurate. I know the polls are they're suspect at this point, but it shows that Biden is very unpopular and he's getting his ass kicked. That is legitimate takeaways. At least I believe.
The polls have some very interesting points in them. Not the least of which is RFK getting 24% in a three-way race.
Hmm.
RFK
And wait, I
is
got to ask you one question. Sorry to interrupt. Do you think he'll make it? Because I actually signed the petition to be on all 50 ballots.
no, he's not going to be on all 50 ballots. He's already announced he is not going to be on all 50 state ballots. He is focusing
So
on battleground states and states with the most electoral votes. And then any others he can get on, he will, but he's not pushing for all 50 state access.
So basically, making the best use of his resources.
Right. He's focusing, he's looking for where can he get the enough electoral votes to win. But honestly, if with that strategy, I believe he is just playing the spoiler. I don't think without being on all 50 state ballots, he can actually win the election,
I thought
which
he
is,
had enough signatures to do that.
I don't know if he does or not, but his campaign announced that this was their strategy. They weren't going to try to get onto all 50 states. So I have to assume that, they know what they're talking about.
Or maybe they didn't get what they needed, and it's a cover your ass strategy
Maybe. But
or
yeah,
talking point.
he's focused on swing states and high electoral college value states. He'll also, I'm sure, get on all the states in New England, whether they mattered or not. He is a Kennedy after all. And I'm sure there's a few more he'll be able to get on, but that's their strategy. But the fact that he is getting 24% and he's only within 10% of Biden at this point is really important to notice. And Biden's approval rating for the first time in his presidency has dropped below the approval rating of Kamala Harris. So
Well, that's an achievement. That's it. Whoa. That's not easily accomplished. I don't just dismiss that.
it's
That takes a lot of work to f that up.
it's not easily accomplished, but I have to
God,
wonder if this doesn't give more Democrats the idea that, yes, we are going to push Biden off the ticket and slide Harris in there. Now, her approval ratings are not high enough to beat Trump. And in fact, not only can't they beat Trump, in most of these polls, they're also losing to both DeSantis and Haley. And actually, Haley is beating Biden by 15% in some polls.
well, I don't know why it's happening because you looked at that Christmas video that the Dr. Jill put out. I mean, that just reeks of competency, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, this was.
I mean, that harkens back to Reagan and Nancy putting the, ornaments on the tree. I mean, it just gave me chills for the holiday spirit.
This was. I saw that come across my screen and I sat there dumbstruck, just going, what the hell is this?
100%. I'm like, am I having a flashback from college? Jesus Christ, what the heck is going on there? It's like Willy Wonka.
I mean, I don't I don't know which I found more disturbing. The fact that the White House thought this was a good video to put together, the fact that this was actually a professional dance troupe that did this, because watching this, I thought it was a bunch of volunteers or maybe White House staffers had put this together.
Agreed, 100%. Like, these people are I thought it was just some like get together, like a TikTok video,
yes,
whatever.
Or the third thing that I find frightening is that our tax money paid for this.
Well, the good doctor, the doctor in education, shows that she's a brilliant. I don't know where did she get her doctorate?
I have
like
no,
Carl
I have
University?
no idea.
God, that and AOC, both institutions should have their accreditation revoked because they produced two morons. But anyway, yeah, she was in charge, and who knows if she was in charge, but not a good effort. Again, just another stumble. That's a good metaphor, I believe. Speaking of stumble, go ahead.
I don't actually think it's as much a stumble as it is just another indication of how far out of touch the Bidens are with the American public.
100%. So you're saying that lunch pail slash Amtrak Joe's really not a man of the people?
Not a man of
Come
the
on.
people. No, he's
Oh,
barely a
darn.
man. He's barely a man at this point.
True. 100%. Well, speaking of stumbling, we have Harvard. A great showing by their affirmative action president. Their early applications are down 17%. And some conservative Congress people were talking about basically defund Harvard. In other words, cut off their federal. By the way, why are they getting federal aid? They got more money than some countries. Their
Yeah,
endowment.
it is ridiculous
What
that
the
they
hell
get
is that
any.
all about?
Yeah, it's ridiculous they get
Money.
any federal money. Their endowment is so large that they have no need. Not only don't they need federal money, they could subsidize most of their students if they wanted. And in fact,
Yeah, they don't even know how. They don't even need to charge tuition.
right.
That's how big their endowment is.
That's actually where the federal money comes from, is allowing Harvard to accept students via student loans. Because if Congress removes all federal money from any university, not just Harvard, it means they can't accept student loans. And that's where it would, hit them where it hurts, which is what you have to do. The only way these universities are going to respond is if you hit them in the pocketbook. So when with fewer people attending, fewer people applying, more donors withholding their money, they're going to have to start looking at this. And Harvard is going to have to take a good look at President Gay, because not only is she under investigation for her anti Semitic comments, but now more evidence has come about her plagiarism. She would be, if she were a student, she would be expelled. She has plagiarized numerous times, but she is a DEI hire. And if they get rid of her, it is tantamount to admitting that DEI has failed, and they can't do that. That's a pill that they cannot
100% correct.
swallow.
Let's cut the shit as well. She checked all the boxes.
Yes.
100%. This is not the Harvard of 1950. Not only are applications down, but I think the reputation, it doesn't have that veneer it once had. In fact, if I was hiring, I'd look for other institutions, and that's not sour grapes. That's just the truth. These people
Well,
are idiots.
that is what is happening. And that is why it's not just Harvard early admissions that are down. Early admissions are down across across higher education, especially the Ivy League. And the two main reasons for this is, one, employers are stating point blank, we're not even looking at your graduates anymore because you're turning out people that can't do the job. So if these universities aren't going to be providing their students with top-notch educations and job opportunities, why go? And then the second reason is a massive downturn in Jewish applications, because Jews do
Oh,
not
what?
feel
Surprise,
safe.
surprise.
Yes.
Really? That's a shock to me. Yeah, there's going to be a reckoning. I think it's going to take a long time. There's going to have to be a big change, a sea change for these institutions to regain their once esteemed image.
Yeah,
Agreed?
it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time for them to get back to where they once were.
And even MIT. I mean, that was one that, my God, the pinnacle of innovation and technology. That moron was all she could talk about is inclusion and all this other, what the heck was that all about? So there we are in the Ivy League, the esteemed corridors of our Ivy League. But a graduate of the Ivy League, the Boston mayor, another indication of the great education you get at these fine schools, basically put out or one of her underlings put out an invitation for the Christmas party, but she wanted only non-whites. Unfortunately, I should say, fortunately, the underling clicked the wrong. I think she said reply all, but so it came to the forefront. But again, an entitled, spoiled, rich little brat.
Yeah, they put together a holiday party just for minority councilmen, which I believe there's only 7. So it wasn't a big party. And quite frankly, he said it went out to everybody. It went out to the entire city council, which I believe is only 13 people. So you're not talking about having a lot of people that they didn't want there. But the fact that they wanted a segregated party absolutely amazes me. And we should point out the mayor of Boston is the first Asian American mayor that the city has had, and she is married to a white man.
I love
And
that. They must have a great marriage. You don't want your husband at the Christmas. Maybe he
well,
drinks too much. Who knows? Maybe he puts a
well,
lampshade on his head.
the invite did specify +1. So spouses were invited, and yes, he did attend this minority only party.
God, amazing. So I hopefully she'll be. This will have an implication for the for her reelection chances. But in Boston, who knows? It could actually be a positive. So we'll see how that works out. But
But
we're also looking at the whole. Go ahead.
I think the important thing to look at, um, not just this party, but we're seeing it all over, is how far the left is now going to claim we need separate spaces, separate parties. It's like, so what you're saying is you want blacks to have their own water fountains. You want to go
Oh
back
yeah,
to
no, it's really funny.
segregation.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny. I heard a comedian saying, "Could you ever think in 1960, a bunch of KKK members thinking, I wonder if, let's say, 60 years from now, if the liberals would do this? Nah, they're not dumb enough to do. Basically doing the work of the KKK in reverse.
It is absolutely amazing
It's
how
hysterical.
in the name of inclusion they are promoting segregation and prejudice.
They're doing the work of the KKK. Job well done. There you go. Well, also we had Elon Musk basically saying that DEI must die. Again, getting the backlash or the fervor from the liberal establishment. He went from the golden boy to the least like, I believe, in about a year.
Yes, because there is nothing that the left hates more than freedom of speech and the free
No, that's awful.
exchange of ideas. And that is what Elon Musk is all about. Now, I don't agree with everything he
No.
says. You don't have to, but he has the right to say it. And we went way too far in the direction of cancel culture, especially with topics like the Hunter Biden laptop and COVID vaccines. It's like, guess what? Opposing opinions invite discourse. The more you talk about it, the more information comes out. You don't have to agree. It's like, this is why, we've been talking a lot over the last 2 months about anti Semitism because October 7th, and this has been ridiculous. Like, yes, you can say what you want. The problem is when you start to act violently, when you threaten people, that's not protected speech. And yes, it's a fine line, but we have to pay attention to that line. You have to be able to say things. You do not have to be able to act on them.
Well, according to the president of Harvard, it may not violate Harvard's policy unless it's acted on. So you wait for the people to get shot before you say that's a problem. Genius.
Well, but that's
Speaking, go ahead.
that's where they went too far because incitement to riot is not protected speech. That's
I
actually
know
been
that. Yes,
found
of
by the
course.
courts. So what you're saying matters. And that's what these guys do. They don't want to hear any opposing discourse. It's their way or the highway. And guess what? That's not how the world works. So,
But she
if you,
did light the menorah. She did light a
yes,
menorah. So that gets her
yes.
off the hook, doesn't it?
Oh, of course.
Yes. And, with liberalism going on steroids, we have the governor of New York, a real genius herself, as New York is losing almost as many people as California. Their fiscal health is also declining. They're continue to banter about the possibility of reparations, even though they weren't even a slave state. You think there's more important issues, like maybe the migrant surge in New York City? Nah,
The migrant surge, the crime surge, the
no big
fact
deal.
that their residents are leaving, all the same problems that California has. And they also had
No businesses coming in.
their reparations committee to investigate the possibility. And now New York has a committee that will investigate reparations. They have no money to actually pay for reparations. So it's not going to
Neither
go
does New York.
anywhere. I know I'm talking about New York.
Yeah,
They don't have the money to pay for reparations. So no matter what this council comes up with, nothing is going to happen. It's just a matter of placating the left.
absolutely. Yes, as Rome is burning, they're worrying about ancillary issues. But the good governor, again, another genius as well. Speaking of a genius, how about the Senate staffer who basically recorded having sex in the Senate chamber, but now is claiming that he's a victim?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, he
Hmm.
videotaped himself in a sexual encounter in the Senate chamber, and he's claiming to be a victim because he was having gay sex. Guess what? Nobody cares that you were having gay sex. What they care about is that they had to see your pasty white ass on camera in the Senate chamber.
Yeah, I believe that could be true. Yes. No. So regular sex would be fine, just not gay sex. I don't think so.
No,
And but
no.
talk about judgment. Talk about judgment. This person is an idiot. They're supposed to be young and know. You said this years ago. Once something's on the net or in the social media, it's there forever.
Yeah, this tape is never going away. It's on the net.
Genius.
It's there. Good, he's already been fired from his Senate post. Um, Good luck finding another job after this,
Maybe he'll
because
get a job at Harvard. I disagree. It might be
oh, well,
actually for
that's
inclusion. It might be a
possible.
positive.
That's
Could be a
possible, but I mean,
leg up.
basically, this just shows you have no judgment, and employers do not want to hire people that have no judgment.
100%. And, background checks, they'll come up right up at the top. I think it's called check, please.
Yeah,
Good luck.
it is absolutely amazing that people still do not understand that these things don't go away. I mean, why I've never understood the idea of recording yourself having sex anyway. I mean,
No, bad idea.
even in the
Bad, bad,
private,
bad idea.
even in the
Bad
privacy
idea.
of your own home, back in the
Breakups
days of
happen. Breakups
right,
happen.
back in the days of VHS when there was no net. It's like the fact of the matter is everybody likes to imagine themselves as, oh yes, they're so virile that it's going to look like no, nobody looks like that in real life. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, please
You don't want
keep it to yourself.
I don't remember
Don't need to see it.
I don't remember who it was, but years ago there was a comedian that talked about they were having sex with their significant other in a hotel room, and they noticed that there were mirrors on the ceiling, and they were appalled at what they were seeing while they were
There
having
you go.
sex. It's like, no, this is not an attractive look. Nobody looks good doing it. It's like, why would you do this?
Yes, it's a lesson for the day. Stop. Just enjoy your sex. You don't need to share it
Yes.
with everyone. I think we're good. Um, I'd like your opinion. I'm sure our listeners would as well. How much trouble, how much dog do is Lunch Pail Joe and Hunter in? Hunter, I think, is in a lot of trouble. How much political trouble do you think Biden is from all these investigations? Bank records, texts, emails, aliases. It's not looking good. And then obviously, parsing words. Hunter, remember, was I had no knowledge. Now no financial involvement.
Yeah,
The goalposts are changing.
he keeps changing his story. Right now, the majority of Americans actually believe, yeah, there's something there that needs to be investigated. He's clearly lying about stuff. And
Thanks.
unfortunately, he hasn't stopped lying. He's still
Well, he
covering
can't help himself.
because Hunter was on Marine One traveling with him just the other day. And the GOP investigators found Hunter's name was not on the manifest. They found that Hunter's name has been left out of White House visitor logs. They keep leaving him off of these records. So even if Biden was 100% innocent and did nothing wrong, his own actions and the actions of his staff to protect Hunter are making him look guilty. So, why would you do this if you weren't trying to hide something? It's too late to hide Hunter's activities. Hunter's activities are out there. There's no point. And in fact, Jen Psaki on MSNBC had a great line. She said over the weekend, she said, right now there are Democrats all over the White House wanting to say to Hunter, your parents love you, but for God's sake, stop talking.
Would be good advice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's,
I think it
Hunt,
does have political ramifications.
yes,
That's really the important thing.
Hunter
You can
is
get
bringing him down further and further. And it's like, it's not like Biden needs help being brought down. His own policies are doing that. A
yeah,
recent
he
poll
needs no
showed
assistance.
A recent poll showed only 16% of Americans thought they benefited from Joe Biden's policies, as opposed to 67% who said they benefited from Trump's policies. So he
I
doesn't
think there's
need,
16% that say that they benefited probably in a mental hospital, but anyway, that's just my
well, no, I
opinion.
mean, that 16% could be his relatives.
Yeah, there you go.
It's,
Hunter, yeah, the whole family, the grifters, yeah, why not? So, yeah, very interesting. Also, something I think is kind of interesting. The judge is now has ordered the release of the Epstein log. What do you think of that?
yeah,
Dick Durbin did everything to prevent.
this is coming out. These pages
Should be
were
interesting.
These were produced in the court case against his paramour, as I love the fact that the media phrased it that way. His paramour was Giselle Maxine. I'm forgetting her first
Yep,
name, but
Ghislaine Maxwell.
yeah, Maxwell. Yes. Um, these were the documents that were presented during that court case. There are over 170 names of associates and potential victims that were in these documents. Now, the question is, who is named? We know for a fact that Bill Clinton flew with him. We know Bill Gates flew with him.
And let me interject something. Yeah, Clinton was on the flights or in the flights. I mean, for over almost like 20 times or numerous
Yes.
times. I can chalk up, okay, a couple times you might not really know what's going on. I can honestly say that. 20 times, I don't think so. Bill Gates, smart guy. I truly believe, like, really? Really? You went there
Yeah,
for the what? The nature reserve? I don't think so.
yeah, no, both Bill Clinton and Bill Gates are smart people. There is no way flying more than once they had no clue what was going on. So now we're
100%. And it did lead, it was a contributing factor and a big contributing factor to Gates's divorce.
yes, his wife stated point blank it was his association with Jeffrey Epstein that was a major factor in the divorce. Now, she can't, I'm pretty sure she still can't be compelled to testify against Bill Gates,
No, you
even though
can't.
they're divorced. But if she was so horrified that she said that I can't stay married to you, what the hell was he doing? And what else is going to
Uh,
come out in these documents? And
but he's a guy who's
how many
But he's a guy who's
politicians?
always telling us how to live. We can't eat meat. We got to do this. He's the next pope, and you're telling me he's fooling around with underage people, men or women? I don't know.
Well,
Did
hopefully
something there that
we'll
wasn't
learn more.
kosher.
Yeah, we'll find out more when
Um,
these papers are released.
and our friends in the Palestinian anti-Israeli protest movement, they left their mark, literally and figuratively, on the Lincoln Memorial, I believe. Correct?
Yeah, yes, they graffitied "Free Gaza" on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And
Beautiful.
they don't seem to realize that the more they do this, the more America is turning against them.
Did they
And
spell Gaza right?
they did spell Gaza
Just
right,
kidding.
which for students of higher education is a feat. But
That's the final exam. Yes.
they're putting graffiti on our national monuments. They attacked Alec Baldwin, who was just happened to be walking past a protest in New York. I mean, and seriously, it's like you want to go after a liberal for supporting Israel. Alec Baldwin has been known to beat the hell out of photographers and people that go after him. I think the only reason that Baldwin didn't beat the hell out of these protesters is because the cops were there pulling him away. It's
Pretty
absolutely
much so. And
amazing.
yeah, and he's an uber liberal. He probably is on board with the Palestinian cause. I
No,
mean, I don't know.
no,
I really don't.
he's not. He was actually coming from a pro-Israel fundraiser.
Well, that's good for him. I give him
No.
credit for that. But basically, a super liberal, and they're picking a fight with him. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the footage was absolutely hysterical because Baldwin went after him, telling him, "You're asking stupid questions. You know the answer. Why are you bothering?" These people, and they're now just making analogies that make no sense. There was a protest the other day where they were chanting NYPD, KKK, IDF, they're all the same. Okay, really?
Beautiful.
You're putting the NYPD, who quite frankly are the only reason that you're allowed to protest because they're protecting your asses, the IDF in
Well,
the same level of the KKK. Meanwhile, these protesters are literally spouting Nazi propaganda.
all makes sense to me. Yes, their thought process needs to be reevaluated. We'll just say that. But thank you, Harvard. Thank you, Ivy League. Thank you, higher education. You've turned out a bunch of real geniuses.
Yeah,
Free thinkers too. They know how to think on their own.
oh,
Geniuses.
sure. There was a survey done, and the person doing the poll was appalled because at no time has he ever talked to so many college students and seen a majority of them not just ignorant about what is going on in the world, but literally supporting terrorism. without any understanding of what's going on. And this is because they have not been educated, they've been indoctrinated.
That is true. That's the big takeaway. It's not education, and having a free discussion and a vigorous discussion on the Middle East conflict is more than fine, and that's great. But just being indoctrinated, that's not, and especially when you're spending, what, 80 grand a year on an indoctrination, just join a cult. It's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, that's unfortunately that's what it comes down to, is that they're simply bringing you into the cult of leftism. It's the everybody is oppressed, everybody's a victim. We've seen this over and over again. The Palestinians are victims. It has no bearing on the fact that they raped and killed Jews. You know, the guy that did the sex tape, he's a victim because he's gay. We saw some football player yelling, "Oh, yeah, he's being picked on. He's a victim because he made comments about white commentators." Everybody's a victim. Well, you know what? It's time that everybody, left, right, center, whatever your political belief is, take responsibility for your actions. Take responsibility for your comments and understand that there is accountability. You can say whatever you want. That doesn't mean there isn't going to be blowback. You can yell that you're on the side of Palestine all you want. But when the law firm that offered you a job decides, you know what, we don't want you here anymore, you have to accept that you are being held accountable for what you are doing.
Yes, and I also think you may be held accountable by filming yourself having sex in the Senate chamber.
Yes,
That could bite you in the ass, no pun intended, oh, throughout your life. There you go. Well done, genius.
exactly.
Well, Dr. Lopkin, that concludes another great episode of Carnivore Bites, and we're accessible almost everywhere, aren't we?
We are. And, you know, of course, we want you to catch every episode of Carnivore Bites at the Carnivore Radio website, xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. But we also want to wish you a very happy holiday season, because we will be off for the holidays. We'll be returning in the new year, and hopefully so will you. And we want everybody to remember that despite everything that is going on, this is a season of peace and love. Show your appreciation to your loved ones. Tell the people close to you that you appreciate them, that even if they don't agree with you, that's okay. We can disagree and still manage to get along.
Well done. I certainly concur with that thought. And just let me say, from a personal and professional perspective, I certainly enjoyed spending the year with you on Carnivore Radio, and looking forward to next year.
As am I. It's been a pleasure doing it. And, you know, I came across something. We have been doing this between the podcast and terrestrial radio for almost 15 years together. And
Yes.
it is absolutely amazing that we've been doing it this long. It has been an absolute pleasure to be doing this. And I wish you the same, as our listeners have a wonderful holiday season.
I think our terrestrial radio host, though, didn't feel the same, but we'll just leave on that note. All right, take care. Bye. See you in a couple weeks.
We'll see you next year.